is the word I use to describe all the feeling that I have hiding here for you inside. You don't know how many times I've wished that I had told you. You don't know how many times I've wished that I could hold you. You don't know how many times I've wished that I could mold you into someone who could cherish me as much as I cherish you. Perish is the word that more than applies to the hope in my heart each time I realize that I am not gonna be the one to share your dreams, that I am not gonna be the one to share your schemes, that I am not gonna be the one to share what seems to be the life that you could cherish as much as I do yours. Oh, I'm beginning to think that man has never found the words that could make you want me, that have the right amount of letters, just the right sound that could make you hear, make you see that you are driving me out of my mind. Oh, I could say I need you, but then you'd realize that I want you, just like 1,000 other guys who'd say they love you with all the rest of their lives, when all they wanted was to touch your face, your hands, and gaze into your eyes. Cherish is the word I use to describe all the feeling that I have hiding here for you inside. You don't know how many times I wish that I had told you. You don't know how many times I wish that I could hold you. You don't know how many times I wish that I could mold you into someone who could cherish me as much as I cherish you. And I do cherish you. And I do cherish you. Cherish is the
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular City Council meeting for March 25th, 2024. It being 5:30, I would like to call this meeting to order. I first want to call Mr. Steve Thompson and Bill Craig to the podium. They are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. Please all rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if you wouldn't mind staying there. I just want to publicly thank both of you gentlemen for being on ZBA for so long. I understand you were on there for 18 years, and they will be resigning at the end of May, correct? Steve, how long have you been on there? Were you 18 years as well?
No, mine's like 15.
15, okay. We couldn't quite get that. I'm sorry, I apologize, but I understand you just had a birthday on the 22nd of March, so happy birthday. Thank you. And you put in 35 years for the cities as with TB 911. Thank you very much for everything. We thank you, gentlemen, for all your hours you put in. We can't thank you enough. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Here.
Councilmember Nutter. Here. Councilmember Hoheimer.
Here.
Councilmember Abel. Here. Councilmember Hilst.
Here.
Mayor Burris.
Here. All being present, we have a quorum, so we will conduct business. Chair would entertain a motion for item 3, approval of the agenda.
I move the agenda be approved as presented.
Second. Presented by Mr. Orick, second by Ms. Hoheimer. Is there any questions or concerns of the agenda? If not, do we vote on this time, or are we still doing roll call? Yeah. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Chair would now entertain a motion for item 4, the approval of the minutes, please.
I move the minutes of the regular city council meeting of March 11th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Orick, second by Mr. Abel. If there's no comments, questions, or concerns of the approval of the minutes, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Orick. Aye. Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. We have now come to public input. Anyone from the public wishing to have their voice heard tonight, please step to the podium. I left the mic on, but make sure it is green, and state your name, please. With no public comment, public comment is now closed. We go down to item number 6, which is the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that the consent agenda be approved, which includes the following: the accounts payable report through February 22nd, 2024, financial reports for February 2024, the Pekin Fire Department monthly incident reports from February 2024, an ordinance for a special use request for E3 Collision LLC for the operation of an auto body repair business with short-term vehicle storage for wrecked vehicles at 215 3rd Street. An ordinance for site plan approval for E3 Collision LLC for the construction of an auto body repair business with short-term vehicle storage for wrecked vehicles at 215 3rd Street. And an ordinance for a special use request submitted by Redeemed Auto Services, LLC, for the operation of an auto repair business at 2410 North 8th Street.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Hill, second by Ms. Hoheimer. Any comments, questions, or concerns that you'd like to bring forward? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hills.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Chair would now entertain a motion for item 7. Excuse me, this is public hearing, I apologize. I better read it first. So it's public hearing. The public hearing is to consider vacation of the alley between Elizabeth and Court Street from Capitol Street to 3rd. Anyone wishing to have their voice heard, please come to the podium. Make sure that it is on and state your name. We also have a letter that we need to read after you're finished.
Thank you.
Karen said she was going to.
Good evening. I'm Mike Delury, the Tazewell County Administrator. It's good to see everyone again tonight.
Great seeing you too.
I'd like to thank Mayor Burris, the council members, and the city team for bringing this item forward, which would have a positive impact on our Justice Center project. We appreciate the support last month and hope we can continue to partner together on this momentous project. It was great to hear from the last meeting some recognition that this is part of our long-range vision. And we'd really like to build this building in a way that recognizes both its importance and uniqueness to the community. Without the vacating the alley, we would need to stay on the south part of the block. Vacating it would allow us to cross over, giving us greater freedom to design the building in a more cost-effective and operationally efficient manner. That benefits both the citizens of Tazewell County and Pekin as well. We also want to design it in a way that we can all be proud of for many years to come. Vacating the alley is a big step in this process, and we hope we can continue to partner together to see this process and vision come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Ms. Hoheimer wants to read something to put in record. You'll say who it's from, correct?
We received a letter from Rick Woith, who owns a building. Dear Sir or Madam, as the legal owner of the property of the south side of the lower 300 block of Court Street, I vehemently oppose the proposed vacating of the alley right-of-way, bounding all of my property. This alley represents the only access to the entire rear of the building and adjoining properties as the west side of the building. The future use of the entire building and property would be severely limited without the right-of-way access to the alley, which dates back to the 19th century. My property would be unfairly harmed through valuation without the existing alley behind it. The City of Pekin has already vacated the entire street behind my property at the request of Tazewell County. I need the continuation of alley access to the rear of the building and property. Respectfully submitted, Ricky J. Woith, dated March 25th, 2024.
So does the council have anything that they would like to say about that letter? If not, I want to make sure there's no public input.
I have a question, maybe Mike, maybe you can answer it.
I do too.
I'm looking at the pictures that he's taken, and it's the blank up to, I could see the garage doors behind his building. Sure. Now, do you plan on building a building right up next to his to where, or is that going to be parking lot?
It would likely be at parking. We're working with the architect and construction manager on that process right now.
So conceivably, you could work with him to make sure that he is able to access his building.
Yes, we could.
So that is something that the county would be amenable, because I would hate to see that he not have access to his own property.
Sure, it's something I could bring back to the county board. I think we can work with the property owner on a solution.
Okay, any other council? Oh,
I have a
Mr.
question for the city attorney. I know on rezoning of properties, one of the ways that rezoning is not to be done is when it harms the value of property around it. With this alley being vacated, this would harm the value of this property. Is that take the same context? Because I don't know if you remember, but when this was built, it was built as Leo's TV, and they had semis come in there to drop off products. Now, it's not being used that way, but if you would take away the possible use of that building in the future, it would harm the value of it.
So yes, that is something that the council can take into consideration in determining whether to vacate or vacate the alley. There is also, limitations that the council could place on it as to how much of the alley is vacated. If the entire alley is vacated, it does split down the middle and go to the properties on either side, so at least half of that alley would go to that property. At the city's direction, the entire could go to that property. So there are other things to do, but yes, that is one of the things that the city can take into account in determining whether or not to vacate this alley.
Think big, and it's like a lot of the downtown businesses, they use their alley for truck deliveries. And if this would revert back to that, he would need truck deliveries there at the back of the building. And with only having half the alley, that wouldn't be possible, correct?
I don't know how wide this alley is, so I can't speak to
Okay.
that. So I don't know if half would be enough. But like I said, the council has the opportunity to have the
Okay.
entire alley go with one side or the other as well, so.
Okay, all right.
If I could add to that, it's only a 10-foot wide easement, so he would not have access if it was just a 5-foot wide portion that went to that property. However, it's very simple to write in like an access easement that, the county could retain the property, but be required to provide access, and it would still function similarly to an alley. I think that
Okay.
could work. Is that correct?
Yes, I think so. And functionally, we already do allow access to the parking lot. So in order to truly back into those spots, you have to go into the county's parking lot to actually to be able to use the loading dock. So functionally, we're already partnering together by allowing use of that area.
Okay,
Exactly.
thank you.
So if I hear this correctly, there are multiple options we could do with this. And my other question is, does that alley butt up right to the end of that building, or is there access east of that building that's part of his property? So does it go right to the edge of his building, or is there some space on the side?
Let Josie answer that.
I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly without having a surveyor mark the building, but I think it's really close to the building.
Okay, so we'd have to do some work depending on how we come up with what size or how much we want to give back or not give any or whatever. Multiple options with,
Sure.
with
I think rather,
plat.
we have a plat currently that just shows vacating the whole alley. That can be reworked in a variety of ways for sure. I think there's two probably simpler options where either you vacate the alley only to the building and then you maintain the access
Sure.
Off of 3rd Street, or you could vacate the whole thing and then have an easement for access that gives him rights to that,
Sure.
what used to be an alley space, so that he can utilize it for deliveries or whatever purposes.
So we're planning on being fair with Mr. Voith,
Correct.
so, okay.
Well, it's my understanding, talking about easements, and I haven't talked to Rick in quite a while, but when I did talk to him, it was my understanding that he already had an easement when he purchased that property years ago, and the county built the storage building that they currently got down there on top of his easement without his permission. So they've already blocked one of his doors down there because of that reason. So I don't know that I'm sure that's still in the back of his mind when we're talking about working with him and giving him easements when he's already lost one of them.
Any other council? Mr. Dossi or Kate, do you have anything to add to?
I don't have anything.
Any other
further.
public comment on this hearing? Okay, it being 5:47, public input is now closed. We don't vote on this today, yeah. We have now come down to new business. Chair would entertain a motion for 8.1, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that ordinance number 4176-23/24, moratorium on electronic off-premises signs and billboards be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Abel, second by Mr. Orick. Mr. Dossi?
Thank you, Mayor. Staff is requesting council action to suspend all sign activity on electronic LED off-premise signs and billboards until the Zoning Board of Appeals has had a chance to review the code and make necessary changes to the sign ordinance to regulate duration, time of message, transition time between messages, brightness, and spacing and location of signs. This comes up because as technology is advancing in our society, there's other options replacing, in essence, billboards. And we had one come in which kind of opened Pandora's closet to several that want to put these type of billboards in our community. And I just think it's a lack of the code that we have right now, which has caused us to ask for a pause in that so we can have a little bit of time to scrutinize what's best for the community, so it's not creating a unsightly conundrum for us with the public. Nick has a lot of information on this, so he can answer any questions or speak a little bit further on it.
So we've discussed this at the zoning board. You know, our code does not properly address these. We've currently have 3 or 4 different. All right. So, yeah, we currently have 3 or 4 different companies wanting to install full-size electronic billboards on Court Street, Broadway, and, you know, the zoning board feels that it's best that we pause and re-examine the code before these get approved.
So everything's on hold until it goes through ZBA and,
For off-premise?
yeah,
Yes.
okay. Any other council?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Do you have a, excuse me, do you have a date set for the review by the zoning board, or do you think it's gonna be a 1 to 2, 3 meeting possibility?
It potentially could be a couple meetings. It's set to be discussed at the April meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was just exactly my comments. I'd like to see a date put in here on how long this moratorium is going to be. Is 3 months, 6 months? That we need to set a date in this, so you'll have the way it is here, it's going to be indefinitely, this moratorium.
6 months would probably give us time, ample opportunity to look into this and draft the ordinance or update the ordinance.
If that's the case, then I'd make the amendment that this will be in effect for 6 months.
Second.
So when this says suspend all sign activity, are you just referring to suspending any new requests that come to the city? I mean, anybody that's already been approved for a sign is still gonna be able to actively use theirs currently until this is changed, right?
So there's no active permits at this time.
Okay.
So don't we feel that, I'm sorry, were you finished?
Yep.
Don't we feel that 6 months is a little long? Are we going to take 6 months to figure out going through ZBA?
You're just setting an end date. If it's sooner, it's sooner.
Okay.
But
Okay.
we're saying that we're going to have an answer within 6 months.
Within 6 months, okay. I guess I didn't.
Yeah, council then has to also hear about it as well.
So Nick, you said there's no current permits.
So there's no current permits, but a few meetings back, you guys did approve 2 separate off-premise billboards.
So if those 2 come forward for a permit, they'll be approved. So you
I
put
don't
the
believe
whole
so.
thing on hold then?
We're putting the whole thing on hold to
And-
make sure we
So that was my question, since we've already approved those other two
Yeah.
signs, how are we gonna tell them they can't go through with that?
Right, if the
Yeah.
special use has already been approved, was it a special use or variance that we
It was
granted on those?
both wrapped together.
Right, both wrapped together, then I don't, those we probably have to allow to go forward,
I would say,
because they've been approved to put electronic billboards in those locations. This would only be, anything that comes in here going forward.
And one of the two locations they had, they have to get approval from IDOT, which I don't know, never say never, but I don't think they're going to because it's too close to a traffic control device.
The answer to the question is,
Maybe one.
we passed the resolution, so that's moves forward.
Right, we can't apply this retroactively to anybody that's already been approved.
Okay, so this company, I can't remember the name, comes forward for a permit, they'll be permitted to do that,
As long
as they meet the requirements.
current requirements of the code, yes.
Okay, that's all I.
good. So, Madam Clerk, I believe we need to call the roll call for amending.
Yes. Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. So now we need any other comment or questions with this motion? The approval of this motion. So now we need, Madam Clerk, call the roll on the amendment.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Clerk would Chair would entertain a motion for 8.2, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that ordinance number 4177-23/24, approving a tax increment financing development agreement with Berry and Beverly Waters be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Abel, second by Ms. Hoheimer. Mr. Dossi?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a TIF agreement with, at the location of 2037 Dane Kelsey. It's a planned project, is estimated to result in a total investment of $500,000, $60,000 of eligible expenses under the existing incentive policy. The total incentive given from the TIF fund will be up to $60,000 in property tax increment rebates over a period not to exceed 10 years. The actual incentive given will be based on the eligible expenses incurred and the new property assessment after project completion. Staff is recommending approval of this ordinance.
Council?
Me again. So in the basis under the description, it's $60,000, but in the financial impact, it's only 40?
That's my mistake. I just didn't update my previous request for council action adequately. It is 60,000.
It's 60,000,
Correct.
okay?
Any other comments, questions? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
No.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 6-1. Chair would now entertain a motion for 8.3, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that resolution number 114-23/24, authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with Pekin Area Chamber of Commerce for tourism, marketing, and event services in the amount of $30,000 be approved.
Second.
Oops. I believe I heard Ms. Hoheimer first, so I'm going to say motion made by Mr. Abel, second by Ms. Hoheimer. Mr. Dossi?
Thank you, Mayor. Last year, City Council approved a professional service agreement with the Chamber for them to provide event management and staffing for tourism activities. The attached agreement maintains the same terms for an additional year at the same cost to the city. Highlights and major initiatives include creating content for communication through traditional marketing mediums, discoverpekin.com, and social media platforms, participation in the city tourism committee, including expense processing, managing all aspects of the city's 4 major events in the downtown riverfront area. Executive Director Amy McCoy has the primary responsibility to work closely with city staff to coordinate activities and administrative processes. Staff is recommending approval of the attached resolution authorizing the PSA with the Pekin Chamber.
Any questions or comments or concerns from the council? Mr. Orrick.
I probably asked these questions a year ago. The discoverpekin.com, who actually owns that?
Amy, I don't suppose you could speak to that. I mean, we pay for it for sure.
Right. The City of Pekin Tourism Committee manages that page. I apologize.
Thank you.
The City of Pekin Tourism Committee manages that page, and we pay for the domain. The actual domain is actually through Discover Peoria, and we acquired it from them last year so that we would have full access.
Okay. And this seems like last year's. Is there any difference from last year's on this?
No.
I didn't think so. But one thing I noticed, the liability insurance, does the chamber buy that liability insurance, or does the city?
For the events or for
Yeah.
our services?
The contractor shall procure and maintain, because it is for general liability, each occurrence $2 million total.
The Chamber of Commerce has liability insurance that would cover any work
Okay,
that
so
I
it's under the
do.
chamber. Okay.
For the actual events themselves, that's covered by the city.
Okay. Probably asked these a year ago.
Mr. Nutter.
The city covers the liability of the event, or does the entertainer have liability insurance?
The city covers the liability for the events. They are city events.
Sometimes they have to get like a dram insurance of some sort.
Yeah,
Depends on-
probably both. Like, the city will have its liability insurance coverage, but it is also entirely possible that whoever is coming to provide rides or entertainment or whatever would also carry their
So
own coverage to
extra.
cover them as well.
But Amy was right, the city does have so much. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I guess a question for staff, this is not coming out of the tourism fund, this is coming out of a city line item fund?
This would come out of the tourism fund.
Oh, it's coming out of the tourism fund?
Correct.
Okay. And how much money is normally there for a year?
In the whole fund,
Yeah. What's it generate a year?
somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nutter, were you done?
Just one comment, and I know we've had this discussion before. Great job on the events and everything. But we go through an accounts payable report, and we're just now getting billed for things that were back in the middle of last year. Is there any way to improve that, to get it more timely? To
Yes.
get you more money in a timely fashion to pay the entertainment and everything else?
The majority of the invoices that were recently submitted are for our staffing, so for it's my time or the time that I've paid for our employees. We made a much bigger effort this year to make sure that the city paid directly the cost for the events that are your events that you're hosting.
Okay.
But yes, I can work to improve our timeliness on requesting those
'Cause
reimbursements.
we don't want to be behind paying you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
No.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 6-1. Chair would now entertain a motion for 8.4, please.
I'm going to ask the city attorney a question prior to reading these.
Okay.
If there's, it's set up to read for an omnibus vote on these. So if there's questions on an individual one, do they all have to be read individually then? Or can I read it as an ominous vote? And if somebody has a question for one particular one or two, those can be asked?
Yes, so it would be just like consent. You can make an omnibus to approve them all in one vote. If any member of the council wants to address a particular one separately, they would just pull that out of the omnibus vote. And
Thank
that
you.
one would be handled separately.
Thank you very much. Just clarification to make sure.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I move that resolution, first of all, Madam Mayor, I move that we have an omnibus vote
Okay.
on item 8.4, which is resolution to approve contract mowing request for proposal District 1 to Classic Grass of Central Illinois, LLC. 8.5, approving contract for mowing request for proposal District 2 to Carmody Lawn Services Incorporated. 8.6 is approval of a contract for mowing request for proposal District 3, 7, and 8 to JW Lawn Service LLC. And 8.7, approving contract for mowing request for proposal District 5 to Easier Grounds Management LLC. And finally, approving contract for mowing request for proposal District 4 and District 6 and Park Avenue to Classy Grass be
Classy Grass is not correct?
BEHRLAWN. Yes, we will be pulling that. Be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Nutter, second by Mr. Abel. Mr. Dossi.
Yeah, these are the annual mowing contracts for the city properties that are before council for approval.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Mr. Nutter.
So do we amend 8.8 to say bare lawn? Is that a required amendment?
Yes, we would have to approve amend the proposed, I mean, it's,
Did the name change, or was it just a type?
it was just a clerical
Yeah,
error,
yeah.
so we don't have to do any formal motion and approve.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. No worries, yeah.
So just make sure it gets corrected and go with that. Okay.
And that was BEHRLAND.
LAWN.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't see you behind the post, but thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions or concerns? Oh, Mr. Orick.
Dean, I have a couple questions here in your District 1.
Sure.
The lots on the north side there between Willow and Mary Street. I seem to recall the state bought those when they widened the route there. Are those not state-owned?
So we're looking into that. Back, if memory serves me correct, I even went back and looked and see how far we've been mowing them. They've been mowed since we did our own mowing. Josie and I had a conversation, and we're gonna look and see if there's some kind of like right-of-way mowing that we have to do for IDOT, since they own the road, but the right-of-way is, even though it's an island, I'm not for sure. It's kind of like the sidewalk issue with state routes. They do the curb, but we own the sidewalks, even though they own everything to that. So we'll look into it for you, Lloyd.
And then my other question is, and this would be for all of them except Park Avenue, which has a median, and the others that have medians, why is it the property owner isn't required to maintain those like we do with residential?
We don't do all of Park Avenue, but we do parts that are along the timber, which are not maintained by property owners. So like where you come off of Sheridan and run north,
We've mowed that for as long as I can, and even up the hill at Sheridan.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Even
just
around
thinking,
where
out in the country, you know, where there's farmers' fields, they maintain the ditches out there. They mow them and stuff.
County roads.
Why don't we
County does.
have the same thing here for like veterans, the property owner that owns back, why don't they maintain that, just like we do with the residential?
Can't answer to that.
Could we do it?
I'd have to look into it, Lloyd.
Okay. Do you know, Kate, if we could do that?
Do what? I'm
To treat
trying
these,
to figure out where we got the clerical error in here.
oh, to treat these properties the same way we do with the residential, that the property owner has to maintain the right of way by mowing it, keeping it clean. That like out on veterans and these other areas, the property owner is to maintain that right of way, the same as residential.
We mow everything on veterans.
Yeah, I know it, but
Yeah.
we could stop it possibly, it'd save us a lot of money.
But we own that ground off of veterans.
With the public right of way, we own that too,
I
don't we?
know, but like I said, it's
Don't
been
we own the
mowed
public
since
right of
that's
way?
been- It's been mowed since we built that road.
Well, there's
Yeah,
a couple other
yes.
areas like that on Hannah and
feel like there's-
Broadway too. And that
Well, the
was-
one on Hannah in particular is a right-of-way again issue, but we don't mow past the edge of the trees. If the contractor is going out past the edge of that trees, he doesn't mow on Evans's side, he only mows on the other side, which would be the south side. And if he goes past the trees, that's up to him, but we only pay him to the end of the tree line from Petrie to there,
Which tree line you talking about?
the tree line on the south side. All we pay is for that south side strip. That's all we pay for.
No, both sides of Hannah Drive have been mowed for at least the last 2 years. The
It's
right
not
of
on the
way.
map that way.
Hmm?
It's not on the map that way.
It was, and I was told it wasn't gonna happen last summer, and it happened again last summer. And it's on the map again in the packet again tonight. And the same way with Broadway over there by the old West Campus. Why isn't the property owner that owns that property over there, why aren't they required to mow that grass between the sidewalk and the curb like the rest of us have to do in front of our houses?
I've seen him mow it. Rick does mow that strip on his side.
Okay.
So the answer is yes, we can treat commercial or otherwise non-residential properties the same as far as it goes between that area between the sidewalk and the street. that's
Even
in
though
the
it's
right of way
public
that-
property,
Yeah.
which is okay. Also, Dean, I had other questions, like they bid $50,000 on it. Do they put in a bill when they mow for a certain amount of money and being paid, or?
It's proportional. There's 8 billing cycles, so they break it down by billing cycle. So it's divided by 8.
Okay. So what happens if, because of the weather, they don't mow?
It's still the required mowing. We have verbiage in there for height restrictions, and it's based off of 18 cycles, 18 mowing cycles.
Okay, all right. And last year how did they come out on the contracts? Did they come out all money expended, or?
We were actually a little short, but there was a change in contracts in the beginning of the season.
And why is it the airport has to be mowed every week?
I don't have that in, it's every week, it's bi-weekly.
Well, I thought I saw it in my
Would that be
back.
FAA requirement?
Might be.
I have to look at it real quick. I didn't think that one was weekly. I'll have to look. It may be an FAA requirement. I changed a couple of these issues to weekly.
No other further questions, Madam Clerk?
Well,
Oh,
wait a
excuse me.
minute. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't answer. You're gonna investigate Lloyd's questions about the medians, et cetera, et cetera. So if there is a change in this, you're gonna have to go back to the contractor then?
We can ask for a credit.
Okay. That's reasonable. Just give us an answer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Okay, hold on.
I'm sorry.
So right now we have, motion on the floor is to combine 8.4 through 8.8. 8.8 does say on the agenda, proposal to award District 4, 6 and Park Avenue to Classy Grass. I looked at it looks like Classy Grass's bid for District 1 got included in the packet under this item, but also the Bear Lawn is included as an exhibit under this item for District 4, District 6, and Park Avenue. So it looks like it was a clerical error in putting Classy Grass in the agenda name instead of Bear Lawn. Yes. So I think that we are good to move forward on this. It's just, I just wanted to put for the record that that the bid that is attached to this item for District 4, 6, and Park Avenue is the Burlawn bid that's included in your packet, not the Classy Grass bid. That's in there by error, because that's the bid for District 1, which is already attached in item 8.4.
Thank you for clarifying that.
And so right now, the motion on the floor is to combine them into an omnibus vote, which needs to be unanimous. So if there's anyone that anyone wants to consider separately, you would pull that one out. That's all I have.
Okay. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
No.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye.
Okay, so there was not a unanimous approval to do them as omnibus, so that means we will now address them individually.
Individually, okay. So we will now vote on or talk about 8.4.
We will need a motion to approve each one.
Each one.
Motion and second to approve each
All
one.
right, Mr. Nara, I guess these are yours.
Yeah, okay, 8.4. Move that resolution 11523/24 approving contract for mowing requests for proposal District 1 to Classy Grass of Central Illinois LLC be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Nutter, second by Ms. Hoheimer. I don't believe we need to call on you, Mr. Dossi. I think we'll just see if there's any questions, comments, or concerns from the council on 8.4. If not, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Chair would now entertain a motion for 8.5, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that resolution number 116 approving contract for mowing request for proposal District 2 to Carmody Lawn Services Incorporated be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Nutter, second by Ms. Hoheimer. Once again, any comments, questions, or concerns from the council? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
No.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 6-1. Chair would now entertain a motion for 8.6, please.
Madam Mayor, I move resolution number 117 approving contract for mowing request for proposal District 3, 7, and 8 to JW Lawn Service LLC be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Nutter, second by Mr. Orick. Comments from the council? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Chair would now entertain a motion for 8.7, please.
Madam Mayor, I move resolution number 118, approving contract for mowing request for proposal District 5 to Easier Grounds Management LLC be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Nutter, second by Ms. Hoheimer. Questions or comments, concerns from the council? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Chair would now entertain a motion for 8.8, please.
And
Madam
if
Mayor,
I can jump
move-
in, I
Pardon me?
would suggest, just to clarify the record, that the actual motion that you make include the.
Bear lawn.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
you're on it.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I move resolution number 119, approving contract for mowing request for proposal District 4, District 6, and Park Avenue to Bear Lawn. Is it Bear Lawn LLC or just Bear Lawn?
Just Bear Lawn.
Okay, thank you very much. To Bear Lawn be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Nutter, second by Ms. Hoheimer. Any comments, questions, or concerns from the council on this last one? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
No.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 6-1. Okay, Chair would now entertain a motion to come back to 8.9, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that resolution number 120, award 300 Margaret Street parking lot rehab to Miller and Son Construction be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Nutter, second by Mr. Abel. Mr. Dossi?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to kind of skip down to the bottom of it. It's just given the high budget impact on this project, staff is recommending the council table this award until the overall budget discussion happens in the coming weeks here in April.
I make the motion, we table this till our first meeting in May, whatever date that's gonna be.
Second.
So motion made to table this by Mr. Orick, second by Ms. Hoheimer. Let me look real quick here. The first meeting in May, is that what you're looking for? So that is going to be, correct.
With the date being May 13th.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Nope, comment.
I'm sorry, I didn't look your way. Did you have a comment?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Nutter?
I'm
Floor's
just gonna,
yours.
I want to question this because it says we don't have enough money in the budget to do this. Is that what I'm reading? Because we're $100,000 over on the estimate? Because the way I did the math, we had 1.1 or 1.3 million allocated. We've already allocated money for behind the alley and parking lot behind the rail house. Why don't we have enough money to do this project in this current fiscal year budget?
It won't be done in this current fiscal year budget.
But we've done stuff like that before, carried over to the next year. That's why I'm asking, all of a sudden, are we changing the rules?
No, in that, I guess if it's gonna be in next year's budget, which if the work's not done this year, then it's gonna be next year's budget. And next year's budget, there's a bunch of choices that have to be made.
relative to, this kind of spending. And we felt that, there's enough indecision. So there are some things, so for instance, we did the refurbing of the truck, or the big fire truck. You approved the 10,000, but we wanted to make sure that you said, okay, that's going to have to be included, or the 10,000 goes to waste, right? Now, you didn't actually approve the full fire truck. That will be in next year's budget, whether you actually include the million or 700,000 or what have you for that.
Correct.
But this will have to be in next year's budget because it's not going to get completed here for that. I guess we've had a couple other things where it's going to be in there and they were not nearly as.
Okay, I'm going to
on the
counteract
edge.
that, and not to be
no.
argumentative.
Yeah.
We approved the behind the rail house, and that's not going to get done this year in this year's budget.
When did we approve that? We approved that a while back, right?
Yeah.
That was last year. I mean, I think that,
It was a couple months ago.
right,
So your logic with that of rolling over doesn't add up. Sorry.
no, it's not that, I guess it doesn't roll
So we
over.
approved something
Yes.
to do,
Right.
and it's not going to get done this year. So now we're going to not do this one because it's not going to get done this year. I'm trying to understand.
No, and I will say the difference between several months ago and today is going through the exercise of preparing the budget. The budget is much tighter, in my understanding of it today, than I thought it was 2 months ago. 2 months ago, I was under the impression that we were in a better place. I did not have the understanding of the capital spending that we had committed to, and particularly relative to some of the major road projects, and that the funding sources to those were not existent. And that is something that, at least from my point of view, and I can't speak for all of staff, I was not aware of, how much we had already committed to relative to our actual resources to put towards it. That has changed.
We will agree to disagree on that one, and I cannot support the amendment, so.
Well, it's not, we're not amending, or yeah.
Tabling, sorry. Tabling it.
Now, if no one has any other comments, questions, or concerns, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Orick,
Aye.
Councilmember Hellheimer,
Aye.
Councilmember Onken,
Aye.
Councilmember Nutter,
No.
Councilmember Abel,
Aye.
Councilmember, excuse me, Councilmember Hills,
No.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-2 to table.
No, 5-2.
Oh, excuse me,
5-2.
5-2. I wrote 5 and said 7, excuse me, 5-2. I guess I do. You okay? Okay. Chair would entertain a motion for 8.10, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that resolution number 121-23/24, adopting Community Development Block Grant 2020 through 2024 Consolidated Plan Amendment be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Onken, second by Mr. Orick. Mr. Dossi?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to have Tina Hawk speak on this.
Tina, good evening.
Good evening. If you recall, in February, we proposed an amendment to the 2024 Consolidated Plan. That plan underwent a public hearing. That amendment was for coronavirus funds from 2019 and 2020. We proposed to reallocate $120,165,000 from community services to improving fire safety. That amendment is ready to go to HUD with your approval. We opened a public hearing on February 7th. We had a 30-day public comment period, which went from February 7th to March 8th. There were public comments received during that time. To summarize those comments, most of them had to do with clarification of the reallocation and the activity the funds were reallocated from, and a timeline question on the expenditure of CDBG funds. And with that, I'd take any questions.
No? Thank you. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Now motion passes 7-0. Chair would now entertain a motion for 8-11, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that resolution number 122-23/24 adopting Community Development Block Grant CDBG 2023 Annual Action Plan Amendment be approved.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Hoheimer, second by Mr. Abel. Mr. Dossi?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the actual approval of the block grant amendment, and I'll have Tina speak if there are any questions.
Tina, once again.
This was the second amendment that we brought before you on February 1st. This is the administrative amendment that we need in order to balance our general ledger to the HUD fund management system called IDIS. In it, we have to do a 30-day public comment period, which we did. We also did a public hearing. That was done in cooperation or alongside the other amendment. We did receive public comments on that too. Those public comments were centered around some confusion around the nature of the amendment. There was a question about the specifics of the apparatus and the amortization of the loan. The specifics of it, of the amendment, have to do with drawing down funds from CDBG for the apparatus for the loan and then repaying them to HUD Section 108. So there was some confusion on that, and that was the end of the comments, and we rejected no comments. There were 2 FOIA requests out of that. Both were responded to by the FOIA officer, and with that, I'll be happy to take any comments.
Any comments, questions for Tina? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Hilst.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Any other business to come before the council? Mr. Dossi, do you and your staff have something you'd like to comment on?
Just real quick, staff and mayor and council member were out at the Bergner's building, and they have the building opened up, and demolition is underway, and progress is moving forward with that. Runnings, we attended that grand opening. Just a lot of good things that are starting to come to Pekin, and economic development has hit the ground running and is driving a lot of good positive for the city.
I can't be more pleased. Any other staff? We're good? Mr. Dossi, we're good?
Yeah, just we're going to give council our initial draft of the budget tonight, so you guys can look at that. And I'd like to just try to start meeting by twos or individually this week if possible, just to kind of explain what the changes are and what you're looking at, and go from there. And we intend to have the packet for the council or for the public shortly hereafter, so they can see that. But there's still some work that we're doing in this to.
And as you stated, it's a
work on that.
draft.
Right.
This is simply a draft.
It's just drafts. There's going to be a lot of changes before the final document's approved.
Okay. Okay. Do you want me to go ahead and let the council speak, and then you'll pass those out?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll hand those
Okay.
out in between here.
Okay. Mr. Hilst?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Abel?
Just hopefully with all the contracts for mowing and all, maybe we can get some of these that are home-sized grounds sold and put back in the tax rolls to be built by either Habitat or somebody.
Yeah,
So
be wonderful.
conversations are working, so that's a good thing.
Excellent. Ms. Hoheimer?
I just wanted to say that I was reading on some social media about somebody that was having some problems with things in their yard. Another person went over there on his own, got a couple of other people to help him, and went over and fixed it. Kudos to Tyler Chasko for starting that and helping this woman out. And I thought that's what neighbors do in this community. It makes me feel good to say I live in Pekin.
Thank you. Mr. Netter?
You will find this hard to believe.
Okay, let's hear it.
I have nothing this evening.
Mark that down.
Yeah, it's a holiday.
Mr. Honkin?
In regards to the mowing, when I was in college, I was hired by the city with a crew to mow these things, and it's just amazing how it's evolved.
Yeah, very nice.
How much did you make?
Probably
I
not much.
$3.75 an hour.
He wants
Change to touch. Mr. Orick?
I just have a couple of questions for, I see Tony's here. Tony, in your reports, is it possible to bust out the calls you make to the nursing homes instead of just putting them down as, you know, it'd be nice to know where we're going to nursing homes, not the high-rise where there's independent living, but that it's to a nursing home. And also, along those same thoughts, I know, I think I saw where there was like a 400,000 worker comp from lifting at a nursing home, and I maybe include the attorney. Is there any way that we can get them to sign a liability that if something happens to one of our employees doing their work, that they would be responsible? You don't have to answer it now, Kate. Just let me know in the near term. And then my other question is for Chief of Police. I've noticed we don't seem to have any moving violations, cell phones in our reports now. Is there any reason why we're not seeing those?
No, I will look into that and let you know, but no, I don't know why that wouldn't be being reported.
Yeah, and I'm just going because I just happen to think, I go through North Pekin quite a bit, and they seem to always have somebody pulled over. And here in town, I don't see anybody pulled over, but I do see like state police pulling people over, and even the county police, but I don't seem to see any city police pulling people over. But I thought that just hit and miss that.
Maybe I misunderstood your question. I thought you were talking about a report. If you're talking about, are we making traffic stops?
Well, no, if you make your report saying that we had so many moving violations on, you know, just include in your report that what we've done for the week or month or whatever you want to say.
Okay. Yeah.
That,
I mean, we are making stops. You know, the state police have the luxury of not having to answer calls for service most of the time.
Yeah.
And so they go to locations where they can, their primary responsibility is traffic enforcement. But yes, we are making stops, and we would be happy to make sure that that's in the report that you guys are getting.
I'm pretty sure this was one of our squad cars, but I was going home Thursday evening and they had somebody stopped, and I don't know what those lights are, but they blinded me. I mean, those lights now are so bright. It's almost blinding to go past it.
Yeah, so the lights going towards the vehicle, there's a purpose for that. The back lights, they sometimes have them on, sometimes they shut them down a little bit, it just depends, but.
Well, I was going towards it, so. it'd
Yeah,
been the
so if
front
you're going
lights.
towards it, the front lights are bright on purpose, and it's a safety issue. So as the officers are approaching the vehicle, they're at a more tactical advantage versus the
Okay.
person in the car. So there is a reason for it, but they are bright lights, and the LED lights are brighter than they used to be.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I had to look away. They almost caused an accident. I just saw the brightness. That's all I had. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to take a couple of minutes more than I normally do. I first want to say thank you to, once again, the staff. We are moving this city forward. We're working very hard with bringing new businesses in town. I hear it daily from citizens that the city of Pekin is changing. Thank you for a more positive attitude, and that comes from you. Attitudes are contagious, and with great positive attitudes from staff and council, it makes our city look better and better. With that, I do want to say, I try not to get really too involved with negative comments on social media, but there's some that are very pressing and concerning for myself and the rest of us up here that are vote for things for the city, protect the city to the best of our ability. And this one happens to be about, I'm just going to say rumor, because we cannot seem to find where this is all coming from, but the rumors of illegal immigrants coming into our city. I, as being the mayor, want to protect this city as much as possible. I'm going to tell you a story about someone that came from Brazil years ago, wanted to be a U.S. citizen, wanted to become a musician here in the States. So my late husband and I would follow him around. He was a great young man. He did everything right. He went to the classes. He got his certification. He became a legal U.S. citizen the right way and was very, very proud of, we were very proud of him. People around him were very proud of him. And to this day, he owns one of the most popular places to go in Nashville. He started a band called the Brazil Billies, and he owns Robert's Western World. So that is what coming to the United States, following your dream, becoming a legal citizen should look like. So I just want to tell you that I don't believe I'm overspeaking when I say we are here to try to protect this city and let things happen the way they should happen. So with that, thank you. Chair would now entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Madam Mayor, I move that we go into executive session 5 ILCS 120/2C6, the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body, and 11, litigation.
Motion made by Ms. Hoheimer, second by Mr. Nutter.
And to
There's
clarify, it'll be pending litigation.
pending litigation and no action taken. We are now in executive session at, why do I always forget executive session? I know. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hoheimer.
Aye.
Councilmember Nutter.
Aye.
Councilmember Abel.
Aye.
Councilmember Onken.
Aye.
Councilmember Hills.
Aye.
Councilmember Orick.
Aye.
Mayor Burris.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. We are now in executive session. At, 20 till 7.